What's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in. We have a very interesting episode because we are probably joined with maybe the most guests that we've ever had at the same time, I think. So we are joined here with Adam Leader, Richard Oakes, Neal Ward, and Christopher Mulvin. They are the creators and the crew of the new film, Feed Me, which is from XYZ Films, and it is going to be released on digital and on demand October 27th. And I believe it's making its world premiere at Beyond Fest tonight. Is that accurate?
Yeah, so
nice.
Awesome. Awesome.
It was a great film. So Adam and Richard, you guys also wrote and directed a film called Host back in 2020 and have another film in pre-production. How did you guys meet each other, and what was it like being able to create projects together as a team?
So we both come from different kind of backgrounds, but we both have always had a love of film. Adam was kind of on the music journey with his band, and I kind of did music videos. I still do music videos, and that's how we met. As I did the music video for Adam's band In Search of Sun, and we thought we hated each other until we realized we didn't, and the rest was beautiful, beautiful love.
Can you share with us why you thought you hated each other?
Just because we're really insecure about like everyone that we meet, and we think everyone hates us, so we just kind of were shy and giving each other looks of don't think they like me, and then reading that as they seem really arrogant, they're not talking to me, and then we both kind of spoke to each other finally and was like, I thought you hated me, and I thought you hated me. Really stupid. Yeah.
I don't hate you. I think you're cool.
All right, so Neal and Chris, how did you guys get into acting?
Oh man, so I think I started doing bits and bobs of acting back when I was like 15. I was taking woodwork as an exam for our GCSEs back in England, and loved making things like little wooden boxes, birdhouses, things like that as a kid. And then I thought, oh, this is a career for me, but it was always Jack the Lad. And then my friends came out and we sort of like, hey, we're doing drama. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm doing woodwork. It's like, I've just found out there's a 6 to 8 hour long exam. And I was like, fuck that. My mates were like, oh, this one we can swear, we can do what we want. The teacher doesn't really care. We get to pretend to be people we're not. So I was like, well, I'm swapping. So swap, did that, moved to London. And yeah, pretty much fell into it from there. Did a lot of theatre early on, and then changed it up to do film school, screen acting school, and then went from there. And then here I am, sat in the middle of Hollywood thinking, what's going on?
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, with me as well itself, like when I was younger, I would always watch these films and stuff and just be like, oh my God, if I could ever get the chance to be on screen, like being able to do that as well. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I was younger. And then as soon as I got on stage, started performing for the first time, I was like, found it, this is what I want. And I absolutely loved it. And then, yeah, just like Neal said, done a few things after that, because me and Neal have worked together as well beforehand, worked with Richard. And this is the first time working with Adam, and I was just flabbergasted by like his amazingness. Like just working with these boys have been amazing, absolutely amazing. And then yeah, being here in LA, having our film premiered is just the dream come true for me.
Yeah. So now, like, we're in October, what are some of you guys' favorite horror films?
Well, for me, got to be Nightmare on Elm Street.
All right, pretty fat.
That's kind of what got me into it, man. Like the original Nightmare on Elm Street was like the first horror movie I ever saw when I was 8 years old, man. And since then, like, after that, I went down I just got obsessed, man, and I love it. So I'd like to say that this time of year I watch horror films and stuff because of the whole Halloween season, but I'm kind of watching them all year round. So it's kind of it's the same for me.
Yeah.
For me, I grew up on the old kind of creature features. Alien is probably one of my all-time favorites. I don't know if that kind of, I guess it classes as a horror, but it doesn't feel like a horror film. I don't know why. But I love like The Blob.
Yes.
grew up on Critters as a kid and Tremors and stuff like
Yes,
that.
Critters.
Yes. When you say the Blob, do you mean the original or the remake from the 80s?
That was the 80s one. I never saw the original. I need to really, but I did. I just loved the deaths were so original in like the guy getting sucked down a plug hole. Even as a kid, made me laugh my head off. Like it was just so funny. Me and my friend used to kind of sneakily watch it when my parents were out and just laugh our heads off at how funny it was. And I just love that kind of comedy mix with the creature feature. The Thing. I love. The Mist, you know, all those kind of creature feature ones I like.
Yeah. It's good.
Every one that Rich just said, I have as my favorite, and I thought, oh no, I'll do this one. Then he says that on the next one. I was going to originally start with The Thing. That was the first film that I was probably introduced to by my dad, and just the practical effects on that were just so horrific.
Yeah.
The realer is the more it made sense to scare people because you could touch it; it was real. So yeah, it was The Fog and The Thing that I sort of got into pretty early on. But then I was exposed to It, the first one, when I was about 8 years old. Was left going, oh, it's a clown film. You'll be fine with that.
And literally just bouncing off that, everyone's literally said the ones that I liked as well. I was like, oh, yeah. But yeah, Thing, first of all, because of just the special effects, that the realism, everything, which is just pure makeup, pure model making and stuff. That original, you know, because when you see these huge films now, you see that CGI and stuff, and you're like, it's just. It's not there anymore and stuff. So yeah, The Thing, Sleepy Hollow as well. I loved watching that just because of that pure blood effect, everything going on. From Hell as well. I loved From Hell. But all of the films. Sorry.
I said
those are good. Yeah, those are good picks.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, like all these ones, which are just the original sort of makeup and model making, sort of all of that stuff, prosthetic wise as well. That is what sold it for me.
Awesome. So you guys have set out to make your own really creative and original horror film, which kind of borders a little bit on like dark comedy as well. Any of you want to take a stab at trying to give a plot outline for our listeners without giving too many spoilers? Not that I think there could be a spoiler.
Well, I guess to sum up, it's about Jed, who is seriously broken and grieving for the untimely tragic loss of his wife, and somehow he finds himself wound up in the home of a deranged cannibal who convinces him to end his life in the most horrific, unappetizing way imaginable.
No pun intended. Nice, like it.
Yeah.
So in Germany around 2001, there was a story about a man that posted an ad online looking for someone that would let him eat them. If you look up the Rottenburg Cannibal, you can find more details on that story. I need to know, was this film kind of like based on that whole event?
Inspired, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Adam, we were on a music video shoot, and Adam was like, we're chucking ideas of what to do next as a film, and Adam was like, how about that one from him and Mew that is that guy from Germany? And we were like, that's just so bizarre, we have to do it, like, but not try and replicate it. We weren't sure the legal implications of telling it exactly how it was and that, and we wanted to just take the idea, the seed of it, and just make it as bonkers as we could.
It's so mad in general, isn't it? Like, it's just such a crazy story, and we thought, yeah, why don't we just make a movie about a guy that willingly lets someone eat him?
Neal and Chris, did you guys know about about this story before did they tell you? I'm assuming they told you like the inspiration.
No. So I'm really close friends with Rich and Adam, was on their previous film before, so I was around for a lot of their processes of letting me know what's going on with the character of Lionel, and I'd obviously done my own little bit of research into it as well, so sort of looked at the loose similarities. Obviously the storyline is nothing Nothing like how that
No.
happened. Like Adam says and Rich says, it's based very loosely on it, just the idea of someone being able to be eaten. So yeah, we were privy to that, and I think I watched a documentary on it that was on YouTube, sort of in depth about the trial and stuff, because cannibalism isn't technically legal over there, so you can eat human flesh at the time, I think it was, but it was the fact that he killed him or something like that. So it was
Okay.
That was the ambiguous. Can we prosecute? Can we not? Because if he'd have just ate it and he was still alive, he'd be fine. But
He didn't read the fine print before he started eating. You know?
yeah,
Like,
You guys had good chemistry. I thought you guys killed it acting wise. So kudos to you. The characters were really in depth. So that was pretty cool.
Oh man, thank you very much.
Thank you, dude.
It's all down to on our side from we know each other outside of we're good friends outside, which really helps with getting that chemistry. And we'd be the silly guys on set quoting Blackadder and Bottom, all these British TV shows and doing silly voices. But again, it comes right back round to the direction we get from the guys there. You know what I mean? We trust them wholeheartedly with what we were doing. And we were in some really deep, dark, shitty places, man. Like certain scenes that I had and certain scenes that Chris had. I went to hell and back and then continued to stay down in hell for a while whilst we'd been finished. But yeah, we were in good hands. These guys made sure we created magic. And when we can trust what they're giving us, it is a true testament to how good these guys are as directors and how they communicate that through to us and get the best out of this fucking batshit crazy story, man. So yeah.
Dude, my favorite scene in the whole movie was you were freaking out, and all of a sudden the camera pans and you had this like snot hanging, and I was like, oh, that's real. That's good. That's good. I actually rewound it and watched it again. I was like, and I debated, was it a real snot? You just like got so into it, you just.
No, real. That's all real, man. I worked out very early on in my career that I'd probably make more money being ugly than I do, because this ain't no model. So yeah, no, I go full force into that. There was bits where I was there and it'd be like, right, guy, amazing. I've just got this snot hanging. I'm like, guys, if we can go for another one, I can keep it here. We're going up and down, and Richard's there with the camera going like, "No, keep that. Let's go again." But yeah, you got to go real with that kind of stuff. I don't think they do tear sticks for tears, but this is the first film I've not used one on. I use one of Adam's band's songs called Never. I use that to get to these horrible places because it's such an incredibly horrible song for me, but I love it. It's my favorite song. It takes me to places you can't get.
I'll be looking that up as soon as we're done. Thank you.
In Search of Sun, Never. All the other songs are great, but that one particularly for the film. You know what I mean?
I like that you guys were focused on like the practical effects in the thing, and now we're kind of talking about the practical effects of your snots and tears. So that's awesome. So
that might be a new like business we could get, like fake snot. I don't know how you do that.
Someone has the prop for the movie.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool that you guys just trusted like Adam and Rich. And I have a question for the two of you. Was there any problems getting it from the page to the screen as far as writing and then directing what you wrote to get it perfect?
Not really, man. I mean, like we had this script, and we were both really happy with it, and we both trusted Neal and Chris and Samantha and Hannah and Nadia and Anto, the rest of the cast. Like, we trusted them wholeheartedly, and they understood it, and we already had good relationships with all of them, man. So like, I mean, there was always that like, I wonder what these guys are going to bring to the table before anything had started. But as soon as we saw them start to do that, we were like, this is amazing, man. Like, this is so cool to see all of them just bring that script to life and put a whole new level of emotion into it that we hadn't even anticipated. It was amazing. So yeah, that's a testament to all the actors, man, particularly these guys who had, I guess, big shoes to fill in terms of those characters and the stories, the things that they're going through. So yeah,
It was nothing really technically that was difficult or had a problem. Like the main things that was struggle is because we shot everything out of continuity order, like stuff like costume. Like we'd shoot a whole scene and then we'd get to the scene that it links with, and we're like, oh crap, he was wearing that. We've got to reshoot that bit because that's not right. And like just because it was such a small crew, keeping on tabs with continuity was tough because we were shooting everything out of order. So it's like, right, in this scene, how much blood is, we had to kind of imagine how much blood he's going to get into in a scene in the future and kind of put it on them, and then get to that scene and go, oh, actually, it's different. And it's like things like that was a bit of it. That was the only trouble. As far as like getting what was on the paper onto the screen, it went pretty smoothly, and the guys, like I said, flabbergasted by their performance, and that they were just nailed everything we asked them to do.
Yeah.
So I have a split question for you two guys. You know, Adam and Rich, those two guys. How was it writing characters that were so in depth and then bringing that to the screen? Like, what was the process for that? I'm just curious.
Well, I mean, it was interesting. It was, so Rich and I had like fleshed out the entire story, like from start to finish, all the scenes that we wanted to see. And then this is how we work. We do that together. And then I'll use that as my Bible to go and write the screenplay. And it's during the screenplay that I'll take stuff, you know, from my own life, my own experiences, my own anxieties. And there's a hell of a lot of stuff, particularly in this script, and implemented into several of the characters that I've taken from and stuff that I've experienced. And a lot of it is very close to home. A lot of it is wearing both our hearts on the sleeve there, because it is close to home, man. So it's character traits as well. And just in terms of the trauma and experience, yes, there's a lot of personal stuff implemented into there, but in terms of the traits, again, like it's splashed with our shared love of ridiculous sense of humor and our shared love of just batshit crazy fucking gore and unhinged serial killers, with that sense of humor that we both, on this film particularly, decided we are going to do what we want, and we're going to put on the page exactly what we want to do, and we're not going to worry about what others think or whether it lands with other people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And then I guess it would go to Neal and Christopher. On the actor side, you guys, like we talked about it briefly, like you really put a lot into it. But those characters, man, you really got deep in those characters. What was the preparation to act like that deep into the character, I guess?
I suppose, yeah, for me with Lionel, he's so far fetched and far removed that it's hard to do any sort of prep, I suppose. You can't go out there and eat people. And I've been in up and down mental states for most of the career, like most creatives end up having. And I suppose all I do is really take certain scenarios in my life that I have experienced, use bits of them, and then pass through it and heighten them as best as possible to see where the natural realism lies, when it's believable on screen. But then I was always taught that you go give as much as you can. You can always be brought down, but don't give too less, because it's hard to get to bring someone up further to get to the point that someone wants. So Lionel, it was the accent was great. I did a couple of Zooms with an accent coach, obviously because I'm not from south of the USA. But so I did approach Lionel in a really serious manner, because on the page, what Adam had gone away and finally wrote, it was very dark and very. I approached it with some of my idols like John Bernthal, Tommy Lee Jones, and Josh Brolin to give that kind of character. But it wasn't working. It didn't work when we got to set, and then I was doing scenes with Chris, and this comedy element was pushed a little bit further, and then it became like a caricature of itself, and became like a Foghorn Leghorn, Eugene The Walking Dead, Michael Keaton is just like, hey man, well, I didn't know where that came from. It just it kind of pushed, and then we were all howling with laughter on set, and it kind of worked. And then we were questioning, is it too much? Because I think we shot about 7 or 8 scenes that were all of light-hearted comedy, and then we had to go, yeah, no, it's fine. And then we got to the dark stuff, and then it does complement it nicely between it, the horror and the comedy and the serious, intense stuff. So yeah, I just like to be spontaneous on set as well, give them as many options and different takes. So yeah, that's pretty much.
So were you referencing that you were initially trying to channel No Country for Old Men?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Pretty much. Yeah,
and that's super crazy because we literally just we did an interview for another new film this week, and No Country for Old Men came up there. So there's some No Country for Old Men's making a comeback, and it's obviously influencing a lot of films. But I can totally see where you were going with that, with like his style. But yeah, his character goes off in a little bit of a different direction.
100%. I mean, there's certain scenes that still take that serious side. So the serious bit where Jed gets a bit of courage to sort of bounce back. And I've always been a big admirer of Tom Hardy, and then I've moved more into watching John Bernthal because he is just incredible and has that screen presence, which I've always done in other films, unhinged, intense characters. With this one, I still have to keep that there because it's been my forte for most of my career. But yeah, man, like, I mean, I don't think that No Country for Old Men went away. I think my dad watches it every year. I watch it every night. I think it's such a great film, but it was that the serious Texans, the sort of rough, rugged men that are like doing this, but it just didn't work when we got to set for me. And then the accent just became sillier because he was just putting this together himself in his mind. And yeah, I can't remember where it went because I like Eugene off Walking Dead and Foghorn Leg on I say. All this kind of stuff really works with the depressiveness of Jed's characters.
Yeah. So Neal, are you aware of, because it's becoming like a joke online, so everywhere I kind of look up like the trailer and everything like that, everyone says that Lionel looks like a cannibal Ted Lasso. Like you have that wig on, and I'm like, is this Jason? What's his name?
Jason Sudeikis.
Yeah, just like, is this like really him? And at first when I was watching the film, I'm like, is this him? And I'm like, wait a minute. Like, and then I had to look at it again. I'm like, all right. So that's like the joke going on. Like people are thinking that that's actually him when you have that wig on.
We saw it on Twitter yesterday. We were driving into to see the film last night. Went to see Beyond and checking on the Twitter because we'd had some press coming out and the trailer had dropped a couple of days ago. So we've just been checking what's coming out. And I checked on Twitter and it was just a whole thread of about 40, 50 different people just chipping in on this thread going about like, that's Jason. No, it's not. And putting a picture of me in my Internet Movie Database, and Adam's driving the car going, cool, man, just respond to them. And like, I was going, I never knew anything about it. I've not seen it. I don't have Apple TV back home. It was an Apple show, I think. And I actually went up for a part for it after we'd finished all of this. But our American producer, Ed Polgardi, who did The Wretched, produced The Wretched, he basically said when he'd seen, like, I think it was like the first cut or second cut, he was like, you actually really remind me of Ted Lasso. And I was like, who the fuck's Ted Lasso, man? Like, he's like, do you not get that in England? And I was like, yeah, but I think, well, no, let me have a look. And then looking through and go, oh, for fuck's sake. Like, he was so uncanny how different it was. But the main element of Lionel was the Dharma glasses, the Dharma mustache, sort of. So that's where that inspiration came, and then the physicality from what I just mentioned before. But no idea who that was, and then it's just been piled there. An extreme coincidence for sure. I didn't plagiarize his work.
Well, the Dahmer reference and the context of this film definitely are very timely. Everybody's like, cannibalism's so hot right now, you know. So I want to like just say, you know, the storyline of this film is great. And what I think like Adam and Rich were saying though, like as far as what Neal and Chris were able to bring to this film is totally true though, because like there's these, I think some of the more powerful moments in the film were actually like the unspoken moments. For me, with Lionel's character, the restaurant scene where she goes to the restroom and there's this pause. And I love watching that scene because I love kind of thinking like what's going on through his head and watching him kind of work through those motions. That scene I loved. And like every scene, Chris, that you're in where there's like this this longing and the like you're going through the grief that, you know, like it's actually like embodied in front of you, the grief that you're dealing with. Those were just such strong scenes and you brought so much to it. So I just wanted to give you guys, you know, a ton of credit for what you guys were able to bring along with that, you know, the excellent storyline.
It's all down to those two guys. And again, we're the plasticine. They're the guys that mold it. We're the Play-Doh, should I say? Then they mold us to what we need to be, and with their guidance, we've achieved something that we're all very proud of. Because I think I've left a bit of me on the set permanently in life, and they've given us this wonderful opportunity, and it's we see it as a team effort, and we can't act if these guys don't direct. So
sure. So I'm going to ask you guys a couple of weird questions, just because I had some takeaways from this film, and I just wanted to see if any of it has any basis. So the first thing, like obviously there's cannibalism, but then we're also looking at assisted suicide, right? So are you? I mean, you guys are familiar with Dr. Kevorkian, I'm assuming, kind of you know, popular character for the assisted suicide movement, and you know, there are parts of the United States where it is legal. I think in Oregon. I'm not sure what other states. Was there a message here? Because I'm like kind of teetering on spoiler territory, so I don't want to go too far. But was that something that you guys were kind of trying to formulate a message on, or was that just part of the storyline that just kind of seemed to make sense?
It was just part of the storyline, because it's purely it's so extreme, and it's more trying to get the message across of how dangerous people can be and how dangerous manipulation can be when someone is vulnerable. Hence, you know, Jed's character of he's got nothing left, he's at his weakest point, and then you've got someone like Lionel, total narcissistic guy that is only thinking about himself and preys on the vulnerable to get exactly what he wants. So yeah, in terms of trying to get a message across about assisted suicide, no, it was a device used in the film, which
Sure.
is obviously quite extreme and unsettling as well, you know. For
sure.
But it's
I did take some meaning out of it though, because I think what you guys really highlighted is how emotions can be very strong and intense, but they can also be temporary. So grief is one of them, and like it's a process. It's not just you don't just grieve one way forever. You go through motions, and at some points in time, like you kind of feel very strongly about something, like I want to end my life or I want to do this. And you know, I think part of what I got out of this story was like at some point you kind of make meaning through grief too, and then like you find the will to, and like what's the point of moving on. So I kind of like saw that in Chris's character's kind of arc. So that was my takeaway, even if it wasn't intended.
Also finding the way past that and coming out the other side, do you know what I mean? It's
yeah
exactly that idea that, you know, it can actually, you know, you can, of that depression, of that element of mental, you know, whatever circumstance it is, actually crazy as this one, where it's literally, you can see at the end where he's literally like, you know, that I don't want this anymore, I don't want to do this. So that element of coming out of it. So
yeah. The other part with Lionel's characters, I kind of like, he seemed reminiscent almost of an addict, because of his drive for flesh. And you know, he started off where the appearance was that he seemed like he was kind of all together, like he seemed very confident in what he was doing. And then when you get deeper in, you kind of see that he's just like hanging on by a thread and he's quickly unraveling. So I just was wondering, like, what were some of your ideas about his character, and like as far as like the chaos that he was living in? Like it was pretty intense. Like, Lionel, did you feel that? Neal, I mean, not Lionel. Did you feel that chaos as you were going through it?
yeah, I mean, there's always a point. It's like an elastic band with Lionel. You pull it, and there's a point where it snaps. Mm-hmm. He does everything. He'd ideally keep everything in a nice loose elastic band there, because he can manipulate that. He can go wherever he needs it to do, get whatever he wants out of him, which is the addiction for the meat. And the meat has a very deep symbolistic meaning within him from his childhood. However, he's got to that point, and it's not explored massively in the film, but it's what I know from speaking with Adam about how he wanted stuff with his backstory. But yeah, that tipping point and the snapping point of that elastic band, you see it clearly in the film, and he does everything to make sure that nothing else affects how he goes about his business and gets what he needs. So manipulating people, but making them believe that he's this endearing guy that you warm to, and he's your friend, and that's what he gets away with. That's what he's really good at. But then when all the world crumbles down around him, there's nowhere to go, and he tries everything, and then it becomes desperation, and then the inner child of him that was heavily damaged comes out, and that's where it leads to after that. I'm not gonna.
But that's the interesting thing that Rich and I really wanted to do. And we keep doing this like throughout the whole thing, right? So you've got Lionel here, Jed here, and then they're completely different ends of the spectrum, but their arcs as they go, like to the other side, they briefly meet in the middle, and this is where the two of them bond, right? And then again, without trying to spoil anything, the arcs continue, and they end up at complete opposite ends of the spectrum. One's in a different place than the other is. It's the opposite place, and it's really interesting for us to experiment with that by how they need each other to get to the other end of their arc, but at the same time, they could be their own worst enemies at the same time. Do you know what I mean? But I'm trying not to spoil anything there. So it was really interesting for us to explore that and see those guys bring that to life as well. Really, really cool. Really cool to see that.
That's really interesting. So it was almost like you guys tried to, Jed has baggage, but Lionel has baggage too. And his isn't out there as much, but it's the subtext that really makes it. And it's kind of cool like that you just had that in there. Like, kudos to you guys, man. That was well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, man, we really enjoyed that film, and we appreciate you guys letting us see it before it comes out. And I know that when someone drops a project and everybody's like, "What's next?" But it's like, we're hooked, and we want to see what you guys are working on, and definitely want to know if you guys got something down the line, if you guys are getting ready to work together again.
100%. What's this stuff?
Yeah.
We've already got stuff, a whole script written, and we're already pitching it, so it's all good.
Nice.
You guys waste no time. That's awesome.
Exactly. I think because when you have a crew like that, it's just easy. It seems like, you all get together, get along together, so it just seems like you guys can just knock out films just like right away. So I just I'm like I said, everyone else that's out there listening, like definitely check this film out when it drops. Like you're gonna love it. And so definitely put these guys down on your list and check out what they have to offer in the future.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely.
So you guys, do you want to just let people know where to find you on social media so they can follow you guys in your journeys?
Yeah, sure. Well, you can follow me on Instagram. That's probably where I'm most active. It's just at Adam Leader Official.
At Dark Fable Rich.
Okay.
At Neely, Nealy.
And at Christopher Mulvin.
Awesome. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. This was an absolute pleasure. And we really appreciate being able to check out this film. Thank you.
For having us. Yeah, it's been amazing. Thank you.
You guys were great. Like, the film was so good, and it was really layered. So keep it up, man. All of you, definitely keep it up, please.
That means the world to us, man. Honestly, thank you so much.
We haven't heard much feedback from it going out yet, like the premieres tonight. So we're all a bit tender.
Yeah.
It's really nice hearing from you guys and stuff and saying that you enjoyed it. So that's good.
You know what? You go in there and you tell them those three guys in the tiniest state of Rhode Island in the United States, they loved it. So you guys, if you say anything wrong, you're wrong. All right.
Well, you guys have a blast tonight at Beyond Fest. And
Yeah, man. Best of luck, man.
hopefully we will catch you guys again at some point down the road. So thank
Yeah,
you
that'd be
guys.
awesome.
Let's keep in touch.
Awesome.
definitely.
Thank you.
So much. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for listening. Make sure you check out the film and have a great night.